What's the dog's name?
Max. Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking. Is he okay?
Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine.
Welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie.
Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a retro podcast dedicated to the pop culture of the 80s, 90s and zeros. My name is Jason.
I'm Howard.
And I'm Steve the Duck.
No Rich this week, unfortunately, again, as we jump back to the 80s and go crackers for a film long on my wish list for the podcast. Leo Thompson, Tim Robbins and Jeffrey Jones stars in George Lucas and Willard Payuk adaptation of Howard the Duck.
Across the sea of stars lies another world, a world almost exactly like ours. This is where he lives. He's 27 years old, single but searching. Favorite sports, windsurfing and Aikido. Favorite pastimes, cigars and sex. He has everything except fulfillment. And then one night, it happens.
Hey, good buddy, are you home?
He has a very sudden midlife crisis. He lands in Cleveland.
You know why you were sent to me?
Listen to me, small visitor. I can explain how you got here.
Maybe you're here for some greater purpose, some cosmic cause.
Here, he's forced to reassess his career goals.
You went to med school?
To explore new relationships. To redefine his self-image.
I'm sorry, we don't allow pets on the premises.
To adjust to a changing lifestyle.
All right, pull it out!
Until he discovers just who he really is.
Oh, no.
A duck in big trouble.
That's a duck, man!
Howard the Duck, trapped in a world he never made.
Howard, an anthropomorphic duck from another dimension, is accidentally transported to Earth, stranded in Cleveland, Ohio. As Howard navigates the strange and unfamiliar human world, he befriends a young musician named Beverly, and together they uncover a sinister plot involving an evil scientist attempting to harness dark energy to bring more creatures like himself back to Earth. As Howard and Beverly work to stop this nefarious plan, they encounter various oddball characters and embark on a humorous and action-packed adventure. Coming up on this episode, we give our verdict and score on the show for the board from above. Someone, I'm still waiting for a name. Come on, please. We reveal our favourite or even worst.
Duck from above?
Do we really want to honour this film with something like that every week?
We do not.
No, but the duck puns are just going to be rife in this recording.
Warning, duck pun. Woo, woo.
Warning, duck nipples. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to that. We reveal our favourite or even probably worst moments from the film, and we have a chat about the cast. But before any of that, what a film, guys?
It's a film.
It is by definition a film in that it is shot on film and is feature length.
All right. Well, let's just start. Let's start with you, Steve. And have you seen this film before?
No, I had not seen Howard the Duck before. No, I was aware. I was also aware that it was supposed to be not very good. And boy, it's even worse than I thought it would be. We've watched bad films before, right? Like
yes.
City Hunter comes to mind.
God.
But City Hunter, it's a bad film, but like it feels like it comes from an earnest place. Or maybe it also feels like perhaps it's just not for me. There's a lot of reasons why it's a bad film. Howard the Duck is worse because it's seemingly all done on purpose. It's like they set out to make a barely watchable, dull, unlikable piece of shit. And they nailed it. Knocked it out the park on that one. I mean, where do you start? Like, so many mistakes got made. At some point during the production of this film, it would have dawned on someone, like, oh, fuck, we've spent so much money and this is what we're doing with it. Like, look at that duck. Look how bad the duck looks. We've spent millions of dollars. What are we doing? And I feel really sorry for that person because it must have been hell.
I think it dawned on Leah Thompson and Jeffrey Jones, who were just like phoning it in for a paycheck. You could see that they knew they were in a fucking a duck to ducken of a movie.
Yeah, that works. Yeah,
I've got a policy for this episode where I've so little respect for this film that I'm refusing even to do duck puns. And I'm a pun fan, but I won't do it. I won't do it. No. More like Howard the Suck. And if you think that's bad, that is on the level of this film. That's the kind of pun you're in for if you watch this film.
Well, what about yourself, Chris? Is this the first time you've seen it as well?
All the way through, yes. Like Steve, I've been aware of it for most of my existence. And I think some of it seemed very familiar, so I must have caught it on, like I've said many times, at like 2 a.m. when you can't sleep when you're a kid and you find some random shitty film on at like 1 a.m. in the morning. Or it was on one bank holiday I heavily edited for, I don't know, but I hadn't watched it all the way through until last night. My wife and I actually sat down and watched it, and we didn't laugh once.
Not once? Not even a little chuckle or a little smirk?
There are a few moments, mainly before he gets zapped to our world, at like the duck stuff, and then after that it was just like, what is going on? Like, it's literally got no plot.
Nope.
Right? I was waiting for something, like, I don't know, to pull me in, and it just happens. The whole film just happens. And it coasts along. It is a bizarre movie, not in a good way either. It's just totally bizarrely weird. But I'm just going to get this out of the way now. Why did they have John Barry scoring this movie? Right?
I was surprised to see the name.
I saw it come up, and I thought to myself, I am a massive James Bond and John Barry fan, and I had no idea this was in his filmography. Probably for good reason. And I was listening to it, and I was just like, if I shut my eyes, it could be The Living Daylights, it could be Octopussy, it could be Goldfinger, Thunderball. It's just a weird mix, because this film needs some kind of wacky kind of synthy music to it. And to put it, just, I don't know, it just felt so disjointed musically.
Yeah, the score's good.
Yeah.
But you know how, George Lucas very closely related to this film, despite what he might have told people. People say about the original Star Wars, right? That was saved in editing, and also John Williams did a lot of the heavy lifting on that with an incredible score, right? So I feel like Howard the Duck is overscored.
Yeah, for what it is.
In an attempt to do the same thing. Like, if we throw incredible music at this thing, it will trick people into thinking that it's a good film.
I love John Barry. I've got so much love for that soundtrack, those soundtracks. But it just seems such an odd mix to have this wacky 80s movie about a duck displaced in whatever, some alternate Earth thing. It just doesn't feel right. It just feels like they found an unused John Barry score and just gone, that'll do, and we'll give him a credit. It just felt so weird. It just felt so out of place. Like they were going for like a film noir type look or feel, like in some of the scenes. And it's just like, this doesn't know what it wants to be. It really doesn't know what it wants to be. But yeah,
I don't think it wants to be anything. I think it's a duck, and that's supposed to be strong enough to carry a film. He's a duck, right? And he talks.
That's all you need.
$35 million.
Apparently, the duck suit was $2 million on its own.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy!
The duck suit that my wife kindly spoke to me last night and said that looks like Macaulay Culkin, and I couldn't unsee it.
It does look a bit like. Yeah, you're right.
And then I said to her, "Please look that up." And we're not the only people who have worked it out. There's
amazing.
And as soon as she said that, I was like, I can't not see Macaulay Culkin in that duck.
The whole film hinges on the fact that it's a duck and he talks, and it really wants to impress you, but it just looks like a bloke in a suit. Like, at no point does it look convincing at all as a talking duck. It's got very little expression on his face. It's just a practically rigid bit of, I don't know what they would have used, plastic, foam, whatever, on a little person's head, and that bloke is just in a suit. It's terrible.
Yeah, but like, look at what they did, the animatronics Jim Henson's company did for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And you look how expressive they are for literally like robotic skeletons with foam latex skins. They're so expressive, even like the pupils dilate in their eyes. And like Steve said, this is like someone's cosplay. They just walked off of a convention floor and they've gone, that'll do.
Yeah. It's okay though, because the voice work is also completely characterless and unlikable. So that's all right then.
Yeah, we even looked up the actor who played him, expecting some kind of like Disney or Warner Brothers royalty to be voicing the duck, and it wasn't. It was just some actor who was popular at the time.
Yeah.
I was expecting some animation royalty, and I was like, oh, he's done the rounds in soaps and sitcoms and theatre, and okay.
Apparently, Robin Williams was attached to voice the duck at first, but the way Robin Williams works, famously, whenever he's done animation, is he's very improvisational, and then they animate on top of what he's done. But they filmed this film where the puppeteer was voicing the duck on set, but he was doing it, he's not an actor, and so when they came to dub the voiceover, they were limited to when Howard's mouth moves, which I suppose could be responsible for the incredibly flat and uninteresting delivery of all of his lines.
The whole thing just seems so distant from whatever they were trying to do.
Oh yeah, massive failure, huge miscalculation.
I am not familiar with the source material at all.
Neither were the filmmakers.
No, or any kind of just anything. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, on paper, this film should have been a success. I mean, we've got a director who's come from like Indiana Jones. He did Temple of Doom. I know it's not the strongest of Indiana Jones films, but you know, he directed American Graffiti. You know, so we've got a director who knows the business. He knows kind of what he's doing. We've got George Lucas, who's, you know, has been around, and we've got a Marvel character, you know, has never been depicted before on telly or in a film. You know, they've got some source material to work with from the comics, and obviously John Barry scoring the film. It should have been a success. They should have nailed this, really, shouldn't they? With these people behind it, but it became such a failure as well when it came out that, you know, George Lucas was pinning all his hopes that this would be a success to fund this new animation studio, whatever that he wanted. And in the end, he had to sell that.
Yeah, he had to sell Pixar.
He had to sell it, and I think Steve Jobs picked it up, and in the end turned into Pixar Animations.
Yep.
So, you know, some good came out of the film, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, it's just really weird. Like, we got all these big, well-established people from the film industry involved in this, and it just didn't work. It just didn't click, did it?
There are rumours around that George Lucas actually directed most of it, but removed his name and had what's his name, Willard Huyck. Yeah, direct, like, finish it off and put his name on it, but that's never been confirmed. But when you actually think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense that could have happened.
Yeah, there's conflicting accounts of the production of this film, and George Lucas himself is like, I was on set for like 3 days, dude. I don't know. I financed some of it, but nah. It's
like the whole Spielberg denying that he directed Poltergeist. Don't lie, Stephen. We know you directed that film. Come on.
There was a Grammar Purist on our Discord did fire a question at us, said that, you know, did the term fuck a duck come from this film?
Quite possibly.
I would say that's, you know, there's a high chance of that. Grammar purist,
Yeah.
mate. Very,
It was
very high
just kind
chance.
of. It was,
I'd call it a non-zero chance, but yeah.
it was a scene that I don't know where this is going. Is this seduction and like bestiality kind of way, or is she just joking around? But they never explicitly say she was. Well, I think they do, but then you're like, because when I was looking up the film before I watched it, that's the only result that came up was implied bestiality between this woman and this duck from another universe.
I think they did. She was teasing, right?
Yeah.
In the film, I don't think it really matters though. The point is they wanted a sexy scene, and they wanted the bit where his feathers go up on his head like he's got an erection.
Yeah, we spent.
That's why the scene's in there.
We spent 70 grand on this servo effect. We've got to use it at least once.
Yeah. It looks like he's getting a boner. Let's do that.
Let's have a look at the beginning of the film, I guess, and like when he's in Duck World, and they tried to squeeze in as many like duck references as they possibly could into this like 5-minute opener, didn't they? Like we had Play Duck magazine, we had what was the Indiana Jones thing poster at the
Breeders
beginning?
of the Lost Stork.
Yes.
Breeders of the Lost Stork. The most tenuous pun you have heard in your fucking life. Because he's a duck, you see, which is a bird. So breeders of the Lost Stork. It's very clever.
Yeah. It is not clever at all, because we could sit here right now and spitball ideas that are so much better than that.
There was another poster up there as well, Splash Dance.
That's right, yeah.
You see, he's a waterfowl, and it's a play on the film Flashdance. That's why the writers make the big bucks. And then he reads Rolling
Eggs.
Rolling egg, not even attempting any kind of rhyme or play on words there, just rolling egg, because he's a duck, you see.
Yeah.
Now, am I the only one out of the three of us here that would have preferred a whole film in Duck World?
Oh, it was easily the most interesting part of the film, for sure.
Yeah, they must have spunked hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on that apartment and those gags and everything.
I'm wondering how much money they spunked on the lady duck's breasts in the bar.
Yeah,
because I was...
when I saw that, I was like, wait, my logical brain was like, how is that a thing in Duck World to have breasts that look like mammal primate breasts on a duck? Makes zero sense, other than we need a tit shot in this movie. Let's have a duck in a bath with some nipples on it.
A PG movie, shall I just say?
A PG movie with a duck that is fucking horny as fuck and smokes cigars and everything else.
Lady human breasts on a duck.
And who has the hots for this human chick that he's just landed in a lap of? It just makes no sense. It's like, I mean, there are weird people who lust after animals, but that's an entirely different podcast.
But yeah, when that scene came up with the lady duck in the bath, I was like, okay, now I know what kind of film I'm in for.
Well, yes, but also nothing like that happens again.
True.
So it's kind of like, it's definitely that kind of film in that it's shit, but like you expect it to be that dirty again, and it just isn't. It's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. Like, the dirtiest it got was Leah Thompson in her underwear, and that opening 5 minutes is just... I don't know.
It goes from him almost having a wank over Play Duck, to a duck's bare breasts, and then it's incredibly tame from then on. Really, not
incredibly lame, like a lame duck.
Again, I'm refusing to engage in duck puns.
I'm gonna crack one out, Steve. Hey,
I really wish I'd loaded up the little boom sound effect now,
or the slide whistle. You can do it in post.
Yeah. Didn't they allude to the whole duck breast implants thing later on in the movie? Didn't they make a joke about that being a thing?
If they did, mate, it brushed all over me. It brushed way past me. I can't remember that.
Floated past like a feather.
Also, he banks with... who'd he bank with? No, he's got a mallard card in his wallet.
That's right, yeah.
Mallard, a breed of duck, in case you didn't know.
because he's a duck, yeah?
Because he's a duck,
Do you get it?
Where do you stand on Howard's being disgusted that he got served fried eggs with his
how does
special?
he know? How does he know what a fried egg even looks like? He's from Duck World, right? Like, if somebody put a slab of human meat on my plate, I wouldn't fucking know what it was, right? Because I've never seen cooked human meat. So how does he know that those are fried eggs?
And also, it's established by Tim Robbins is like the saving grace of this movie. Sorry, but he's just
he is great.
He's just batshit crazy. But like it says in the museum thing that the ducks have evolved into like Homo sapien ducks, like primate ducks. They have no natural predators anymore. So who the fuck is their predator cracking and cooking their eggs for him to be so shocked about getting fried eggs? Surely there's someone above them in the future. Maybe it's those massive cosmic overlords that come out of, the glorious mind of...
Duck World didn't seem like they were under any duress whatsoever. I don't know. No. I don't know how he even knows what a fried egg is.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
No, it was strange. Like like you say, one of the more stranger things of the film. One of the other strange parts of the film that I found was that in some places there were people who were shocked and scared of this little walking, talking duck, and then in other instances they were perfectly fine.
Yeah,
this is normal.
Walking, talking duck.
To the point where in that diner they were going to slaughter him in the kitchen.
Yeah, I know.
This anthropomorphic duck who they were about to behead and cook to eat, even though he wore trousers and said things.
And they were perfectly fine with him when he went in and ordered his special and beer. They were quite happy to serve him and was quite comfortable with this talking duck.
I will say, though, the waitress that serves them in the diner, she was great.
I thought that, and I didn't look her up, actually, so I don't know who she was, but she seemed awfully familiar.
She was the most fun part of this film, and she's in it for 45 seconds total.
She's got that nerdy kind of Velma energy about her, and she's just like...
genuinely witty and funny.
And happy to be in this film to get a paycheck, and she's doing the best job she can.
And speaking of jobs, like obviously Howard realises after he's had an argument with Beverly that he's on his own. He needs to earn money. He needs to get a place and that kind of stuff. So, he goes to a job centre, basically. Like this woman is completely fine with this duck. Manages to find him a job in what basically is a brothel.
It's a whorehouse, basically.
With an employer who is also fine with him being a duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they just assume it's a guy who's just in costume? Like that weird Japanese guy wanting to be a collie dog. Did you guys see that?
No.
I didn't see that.
He wanted to be... His dream thing was to be a dog. So he spent millions on a dog costume and goes out in his village as a dog going for walks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they thought that he was just a weird guy who embraced duckness.
Maybe they thought that. I don't know anything about this collie man, but
just look it up.
My instinct is to say power to him, unless he's doing weird sex stuff in public, in which case maybe reel that in, dude. But
that's what he wants to do.
I guess everyone thought Howard was a duck enthusiast. I don't fucking know.
We were just saying a minute ago, like at the beginning of the film, we saw Lady Duck's breasts. He was about to knock one out to play duck and all this and that. But then we did have this like whole brothel scene thing where there was couples just going for it in the background, and I'm thinking this is a PG. I'm just glad that I didn't take my children to see this.
Was it implied, or was there like not explicit, but was it obvious that they were fucking? It was definitely implied, but was there more than just the implication of?
There was a couple running around topless, wasn't there, through the thing, and that was about it. But wasn't it a sauna or a spa or something?
I think it was a spa. Like, it was ostensibly a spa, but it was clearly, a seedy, anything goes type place.
Yeah.
So I just thought, because I remember the guy saying like, "Oh, I just asked for someone with who was a water expert."
That's right. Yes.
Another duck reference.
Yeah, because
For
he's
you
a
there.
duck, you see. Howard the Duck.
But he hates water and can't swim, so there's another
He can't
joke
swim,
for
and they say it
later
so
on in
many
the movie.
times. They say it so many times in the film. He can't swim because you see that. Hang on, right? Just stop a second, because we're not. He's a duck, right? So it's funny that he can't swim. If you didn't hear it the first time, don't worry. They'll say it again and again.
Mhm.
Fuck this film.
And they'll also hammer it down your throat that you also can't fly either.
That's right.
It's true.
So they end up in some gyrocopter plane thing, wherever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Which
we'll
was
talk about that
greatly
later.
which was greatly shot, actually.
It was pretty good, but it was also boring because who cares? Like, this film is not short of production. Like, it is overproduced. Because again, they poured so much money into this thing. Like, it's I don't want to say well produced, but it's very, very, very produced. This is a big blockbuster film
Well,
from 1986.
When we were watching it, I was more amazed at the music and the miniature work at the end.
Yeah.
That was some like glorious mid-80s miniature work and the Phil Tippett miniature
Was that
monsters.
Phil Tippett?
Yeah.
Of course it was.
It literally, his fingerprints were all over it, and I said to my wife, I was like, that's got to be Phil Tippett doing that, and his name came up in the credits.
Yeah, it was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else I'm thinking as I watched this film was that this film feels like two kind of films in one. We had this like first part where it's trying to be this kind of, I don't know, light-heartedly kind of 80s fun, actiony kind of film. I don't really know, but then it seems
Like
to go
Fish
quite
out of water at first. That style of film,
Like
you
a
know.
duck
you
out of
decided.
water.
Yeah.
No, I very deliberately said fish out of water.
I could see you just go, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not giving this the satisfaction of a duck pun.
But yeah, like the first, a quarter, 1/3 of the film is that, right? It's like, how does a duck live on Earth? Like, that's what they're going for, right?
Yeah, like he's, hinting at the relationship with Beverly and this, that, and the other, and like, fine, okay. And then the second half it turns kind of horror-y in some ways, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Like, once the doctor comes in and gets possessed by this dark creature that's been locked up in this different I don't know where it's been locked up, but and he gets taken over, and then like there's this scene in the film where this like possessed doctor is trying to get to, where are they trying to get to? I can't remember now.
The power station
or something, and he's driving this big truck, and he's like, I'm feeling quite tired. I need more energy. And then all of a sudden, like this like big weird, I don't know, was it tongue thing comes out of his mouth, and
like
he plugs into
it was a mouth dick.
Mouth stick. Yes.
No, a mouth dick. A mouth dick with a like claw on it.
Like a claw on the end of it. I hated hearing Jeffrey Jones. I mean, watching Jeffrey Jones always feels a bit weird, right?
Yeah.
Because of all that stuff he did. But for like 40 minutes, he's just doing a voice like this. And it goes on for so long. It's just, oh my God, please stop having Jeffrey Jones do that voice. I hated it so much.
I quite liked that voice. I thought it was quite funny.
It just sounded like him doing a voice. That's what I didn't like. I don't know.
I was like, I get where they were going to have that slow transition where his voice gets worse and then the makeup gets more pronounced. But like, it just went on a few gags too long with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you're right though. It becomes almost body horror at that point, which is which is weird because you're not there for that. You're seeing Howard the Duck, and the film subjects you to this weird voice and body horror. It was very strange.
But he's got to get to an astrological lab and it's the 80s, so the finale's got to involve big machines, lasers, and trucks.
Mm-hmm. You can tell this film is post Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah.
At some point, somebody went, "Yo, Ghostbusters did really well. Put some Ghostbusters shit into this." Yep. And so there's scientists and lasers. I don't know if they were there in the first draft or not. I suspect that they were not.
And also, how can lasers activate some kind of like dimensional portal? Like, they're treating the audience like fucking idiots, going, "Oh, it's lasers. It's the 80s, so everything's to do with lasers." just get really complex and say they're doing some weird astronomical shit with graviton particles or some shit.
It's unclear exactly what they were doing in the first place.
It's also like they did the whole like Star Trek parallel Earth thing. Like, where is this parallel Earth? Like, is it running
Duck World?
But it's so
space. It's in space, Chris.
But it's so similar to our world. Surely it would be an alternate dimension or a parallel universe running concurrently against ours, not millions of light years away, because it's got American duck money.
Yeah, I see your point.
Credit cards.
I see your point, but it's in space, Chris.
But it's in space, yeah. It's ducks in space.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even though the duck doesn't spend that much time in space.
That's a good point, because it's not clear that Howard is actually... I mean, like, everyone around him is a duck and everything's duck themed, so something's going on there. But it's not clear that he's on another planet, right? Apart from the boobs, you're right. Human feathery boobs.
I don't know if I'm going to ever get that out of my head. It's scarred me, I think, for life.
Can you imagine taking your kid to see this film?
Exactly.
They'd never speak to you again.
You've got the kind of hinting at bestiality in the middle, and then you've got all this like body horror shit going on in the end.
You go with your son and your daughter to watch Howard the Duck, the new film from George Lucas.
Based on a Marvel character.
Yeah, and then within the first 5 minutes, you've got duck tits, and then you have to watch fucking Howard the Duck for the rest of the 1 hour 45 or whatever.
Yeah, acclimatized to the human world. And
what did you think of like the ending of the film? Like the
dog shit.
Like, did you enjoy the work that they put in with the monster, and like, I don't know, was there any redeeming parts of that ending that you enjoyed?
The Phil Tippett's monster was genuinely well done. That concludes my comments.
This kind of like Thunderbirdsy, James Bondy miniature work and Phil Tippett's animation, which also. Yeah. I hope Phil Tippett was annoyed because whoever composited his shots into this film, the frame rates and everything was so off.
Mm-hmm.
It was done on the cheap by some intern with an optical printer. Phil Tippett's work is mind-blowingly amazing, and to have it composited like that in really jerky fashion, like, I don't know, it just felt so un-Phil Tippett, even though it was him. It's so weird. But that all comes down to post-production.
Yeah, I like to imagine that he was just satisfied that he got to do monster animation and get paid for it, and that he didn't give a shit.
I'll do your stupid fucking duck movie. Do you want me to make an animated duck? No, we're going to put a little person with an animatronic head and a weird 3-piece suit thing with a tail hanging.
We don't need your services for the actual duck, Phil. We've got this covered. We're going to go for something that looks really terrible.
Yeah.
But so before we move on to our next segment, I mean, was there any part of the film, apart from the bits you've already mentioned, that you liked? Was there anything else that you're like, that's not too bad actually? That was all right.
I think the James Bond style flying sequence was actually well shot. As for like dialogue and stuff like that, nothing has stayed with me from it. But some of the set pieces are actually shot quite well. Although the flying stuff did go on a little bit too long.
It like, did go on for too long.
Like, just fucking land. Just
like, yeah. Come on, come on now.
Land this flock of ducks.
You're not wrong. It is. I'm going to hesitate to say well shot. It's competently shot. It looks like a film. It looks high budget. It looked like there's a car chase with a lot of cop cars. And the cop cars drive fast and they get some air sometimes and they do some crashing and the plane flies under a bridge and he does a loop-the-loop. And it looks expensive and it's all very competent and it looks like a high production value film. But it's boring though. It's just boring.
And then they land in the water and then he has a fit because he can't swim.
Yes, because again, as alluded to earlier, he is a duck and therefore humour.
Yeah, he didn't take that to like a duck to water, did he?
He certainly didn't. No.
The movie did get a bit duck egg blue at the beginning with the boobs.
Jason, let's move to the next section.
So listeners, I guess you're I don't know, like noticing a trend here that we didn't really think the film was that great, and maybe the cast of the film maybe brought it up from all the other bad mistakes that are being made by the crew. So we're going to have a quick chat about the cast now, and I guess there's only 3 or 4 people from the cast that's worthy of speaking about. The first, obviously, being probably one of the biggest names, especially around this time of the 80s, just coming out Back to the Future and stuff, and that's Leah Thompson. And I guess like she must have been pumped to have got this film. She's landed the lead role in this George Lucas produced Marvel-based character film. And I don't know, like she must have been quite gutted at the end.
Yeah, to land the lead, essentially the lead, must have been great. But hadn't she just done Red Dawn at this point? Have you guys seen the original Red Dawn?
Not for a very long time.
Yeah, she was one of the teenagers that was in that, and I'm pretty sure that was early 80s. So yeah, but yeah, to land your lead role at such a young age, straight off of 2 major movies, must have been great. Like, did a honest performance, and she tried her best. Unfortunately, the film around her just falls apart very quickly.
I think I liked her performance a little bit more than you, Chris. But like you say, the material she's got to work with, I mean, there's only so much that she can do. I bet that when she was on set and she saw what the duck looked like, I bet she was like, for fuck's sake. But I couldn't tell. So in that sense, she did a good performance. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with her performance. She's just like, there are moments where you can tell that I think she's just like, what am I doing? It just, I don't know, it just felt a bit like she must have realised halfway through production that, hang on a minute.
Yes, that's fine. I will now get on the bed for the scene where I seduce Howard the Duck.
Yeah. And, having to call him Ducky.
Ugh. And I hate the way Howard calls her Toots as well. It just really annoys me. It's like, fuck you, Howard.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know really much else to say about Leah's performance. Like, I think she just nailed what they were after, and just hope that her name from the films that she'd been in before just brought a few more people to the watching the film, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, she did all the singing.
I was going to ask if you thought she did all the singing or not.
I didn't even thought about that, actually, to be honest. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
She's a good singer.
Yeah.
Because I was watching her and I was wondering, like, is she miming or is she actually singing that music, But it did look like she was actually singing it. So that's good to know. Okay, well, let's move on to Jeffrey Jones then, who played Dr. Walter Jennings. And bar Tim... I mean...
I don't know. Talking about Jeffrey Jones is weird. It's like, very prominent 80s actor. Difficult to talk about in this day and age, unfortunately.
It's like talking about that 70s show after the announcement today, isn't it? It's like, yeah.
He is Jeffrey Jones in this film. He puts in a Jeffrey Jones shift and you get a Jeffrey Jones performance. If you're into that, then that's what you get.
But it was the 80s. He's a character actor. Book him. We got this guy. We got Jeffrey Jones. Yeah, great. Bit legitimacy.
He's brought his small moustache with him. You'll be pleased to know.
Yeah, if we kind of try to push all the bad stuff away and look at his actual acting in the film, I guess he was one that worked the hardest with what he was given, wasn't he?
He had so much to do, didn't he? Like, you go from this crusty scientist to being possessed by some cosmic demon overlord thing, driving a truck, destroying a restaurant with some weird cosmic powers,
having a mouth dick
with a claw on it.
Yeah.
And a nuclear reactor sunbathing as well.
Yeah, and then he comes back at the end. He's the monster. I assumed he would die, but no, the monster leaves his body and he's fine. So that's nice.
That's Jeffrey Jones.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get to Tim Robbins then, who I think is probably the person that's walked out of this film with the most, credibility. I don't know.
Yeah, he's good.
Yes, yeah.
He plays it madcap, and he never lets up. Just keeps going. I quite liked his character. I like Tim Robbins. He's never played a character like this before in any film that I've seen, so that was fun.
Since I don't believe either.
No,
and just watching Tim Robbins be Tim Robbins, he puts his all into every film he's done. Like if you watch this and then you'd say, in 10 years this guy would be doing a Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah,
you'd be like, no way, he's just a nerdy 6'4" scientist guy. But he just throws it all in there. Lab assistant, sorry. Are you the janitor? But yeah, Tim Robbins was sound.
Yeah. It looked like he actually got dragged through water as well, which was quite impressive when he's hanging off the plane.
And he's called Billsby, Steve.
What is he?
His name in the film was Billsby.
Oh, what's the next actor, Jason?
just in case you're wondering, that's another duck pun. Do you get it? Yeah, audience, do you get it?
I got off IMDb. His full character name is Phil Blumburt. Spelled BLUMBURTT.
He was calling him Billsy or Billsby all through the film, wasn't he?
Oh, was he?
Billsy?
Yeah, it was like a nickname, wasn't it? But I think that was his.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was his official full name.
Okay.
Blumburt. What's her name? Sorry if there's actually anyone listening who does have that surname. I do,
We only don't like it because it's in this film. Like, your surname's fine.
And also the people with the names Howard Mallard or Howard Duck, we do apologise.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the classic disclaimer at the end. The characters and events portrayed in this motion picture are entirely fictitious. Any resemblance to real events, real or otherwise, is purely coincidental. Yes, of course.
Yes. Thanks, film.
I had an alien duck encounter too. Go back. Go back to the trailer park.
I'm from Duck World, and I was getting ready to sue, but that disclaimer has really softened the edge of that. That's good.
So somewhere Macaulay Culkin's going to file a lawsuit against Howard the Duck for using his likeness.
I think there was. I was looking at some stuff earlier, and that just reminded me of a story where Disney was trying to sue one of the filmmakers. It was about Howard the Duck itself. I think that on some of the comic covers, they portrayed him to look very much like Donald Duck.
Yes,
and
that's
Disney
right.
Were not very. Obviously, Walt Disney were not very happy about that.
Yeah, which is why in this film he looks like a made by committee, legally distinct, bland, round duck with human eyes.
Yeah, go send your intern to Japan and find me a duck costume, and we'll build the animatronic around it, and that's how you get Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck might not look good in this film, but he's unsuable, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
No one can get litigious over how he looks.
No,
because there's nothing noteworthy about it whatsoever.
If Wish.com existed in 1986, people would probably just claim they got the costume from there.
Yeah,
or Temu or whatever.
Yeah, but just another quip on Tim Robbins. I agree with both of you. He was one of the highlights of the film, even though he was played a character. I don't know, like his character wasn't anything that maybe we haven't really seen before, have we? I mean, he played quite a generic character in a way, but I guess it's the way in which he acted this character, which made it the standout of the film. I think, like you guys have said.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I did like him in the scene with the biplane thing near the end of the film as well. Thought he did a good job with all the stunt. Well, I don't know if he did the stunts or not, but it did look like he was. So but we'll talk about that in a minute. I guess the only other actor to talk about in this, probably the shortest cast section of the podcast ever. I don't know. I was trying to look through the cast of the film, and no one else really came out apart from the guy who actually played Howard the Duck, who was Ed Gale. But is there anything we can say about his performance in the duck suit?
Bland.
But I guess there's not much he can do, really, is there?
No, absolutely not his fault.
Bless these little actors. There's only so much you can do when someone says, "Oh, we're going to employ you. You need to get in that little thing over there." And the Kenny Bakers of the world are like, "Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, a job's a job." But there are moments where, like, it took me out of the film. Maybe I was over analyzing it or something. But the scene where he's walking down the stairs at the university, you see him stop. He gathers himself and then starts because obviously he's probably not seeing anything that he's walking in front of. You see him stop, work out where he is, and then he walks down the steps and he stops at the bottom like an acrobat. Kind of stops. I'm at the bottom, and then he carries on walking. It was so unnatural, but that's unfortunately the byproduct of getting a little actor to be put in a suit.
I mean, it is, but also like surely there's something you can do about that. Like, you know, surely. Like, if you noticed it when you watched the film, they'll have noticed it on the day. I don't know how you solve that problem, but it really does just look like a bloke in a suit the whole film. It is impossible to put your disbelief to one side because it just looks like a guy in a suit.
But would the audience, well, I don't know, like, it's hard for me to say, like, the audience they were probably aiming for, which is a really hard sentence to say, considering
which
the
audience
subject
were they
matters.
aiming for?
I don't know, because obviously I feel like they're trying to aim for I don't know, like early teens, like, I don't know, kind of audience,
it's
maybe?
Too childish for adults, and it's too adult for children. I think it's impossible to discern. I think it's just miscalculated.
Yeah,
because there is no audience for this.
Or so. Maybe rephrasing, like the audience, maybe that the crew were trying to aim for, maybe necessarily not what they managed to pull off but there was an audience they wanted to aim for and try and be that's the age bracket that we want to attract to this film mostly, I guess. And but would that age bracket really notice the bloke in the suit thing? Maybe not. Maybe they just wouldn't care. I don't know.
Maybe not.
It's also just such an obscure property to develop and adapt. Like, who was a fan of the comics? Was it George Lucas? Was he an adamant fan and decided we'll adapt that?
I don't know. The comic books had their fans. Like, we would have seen more Howard the Duck films had this film not completely flopped. Like, he's had cameos in Marvel films since. It is a property that people are aware of and like. But it's just, if you're going to adapt Howard the Duck, which is a walking, talking anthropomorphic duck, you get your shit together and you know how you're going to do it. And you know what the tone of the film is going to be. And you understand what story it is you're going to tell. And those are the things that they just didn't do, and that's why this film fails completely. It's bizarre.
Okay, well, let's leave the cast where it is then. Let's just move into, well, what normally is our favourite moments, a favourite scene of the film.
I can't even make the joke and say the credits, because the credits is one of the worst bits of the film. He plays a fucking electric guitar on a stage. It's so painful to watch.
So, are we renaming this the worst part of the film? What was your worst part of the film, I guess? Steve looks like he's got one, so enlighten us, mate.
I mean, it's tough. It might be, well, okay, so the credits are really bad. I hated that he becomes their manager and then he accidentally ends up on stage and then he's accidentally playing a guitar in front of a crowd. For the band who are now inexplicably successful, for some reason, I don't know why, it seems like the success just sort of happened at the same time.
Because he beat up their manager and then he turned the band around and made them big.
So.
I
guess he was like a music producer or a manager in Duckworld then? Is that how they're explaining that? Was that his job in Duckworld? We don't really know a lot about his life in Duckworld.
Wasn't he a salesman or something? Or
probably. He worked in advertising.
Quite possibly.
I think he said he worked in advertising.
Okay, so maybe there's some transferable skills there, but it's possible we're overthinking it.
He did that whole thing, didn't he, in the apartment where he picked up that cologne or whatever it was, and then he said, I can't remember what he said. He said something that came out of an advert. He said,
Oh,
I
I
wrote that.
see. Ah, okay.
That's where the duck breast implants gag comes in, isn't it? Where he's talking about the stuff that he's had to...
Yeah. And the other scene, actually, that I just reminded that I wanted to mention, where he falls asleep on the window, and then Beverly picks up the wallet and finds the little duck condom in his wallet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Also, like, who keeps a condom like that?
Nobody.
They're having a wrapper, dude.
Why would that even... The joke would have worked if it was just in a foil wrapper. Everyone knows what it is. It's either a wrapping of cocaine or a condom. The joke works either way. But to have a dry, horrible little balloon, it's like, what the hell is going on?
Is it soiled? Like, what's he doing? Why is it in there? What's going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to your worst moment, Steve.
I guess it's hard. I guess I think the montage of him trying to, like, when he gets a job and he's getting harassed on the bus and everyone's like, that's a duck! All of that stuff. I know that's not one scene, but once the film's gotten going and he realizes that he has to try and establish himself by getting a job, it's the fish out of water stuff, because the film is you're supposed to be settling into the film at that point, but at that point I'm just like, what is happening? I still don't understand what this film is. What the fuck? So it's that, and it's the musical number at the end are the worst parts of this film.
It's almost as if in the end they're like, oh, Back to the Future had this amazing guitar solo scene. Let's have it in this one too. Let's have our main character accidentally find himself on stage and have to perform. It's just so many like misfires.
But it was the bus scene was quite a funny one as well, and a kind of a prime example of what we said earlier as well. Was like he must have got on the bus, and the people must have been fine for him to be on the bus, because it was him getting off the bus that everyone started kicking off and going, "Oh my god, it's a talking duck! What the hell?" and like giving him abuse out of the window.
Yeah,
because that's when it's funny.
Yeah,
apparently.
I don't think someone had left their stuffed toy on the bus until he actually got up and just fucking walked off with his briefcase.
Yeah, exactly.
And that trope of the helpful / mystical ethnic lady is so tired now.
When does that happen?
In the job centre.
Oh, yes.
It's that trope of the helpful, mystical, ethnic actress, or it happens in everything, in every TV show. It can't just be a normal like scene. It just has to be some hammered home the point. Oh, we'll make them some sort of helpful mystic who doesn't care what they look like, but we'll get them a job.
I'm going to change my answer. It's the scene when she bends over and he goes to bite her on the arse. Yeah. There we go. That's the worst scene in the film. I found it.
Yeah, because what was that all about? Totally out of character.
He loves arses apparently, and then he never does anything like that again.
No, exactly.
He loves. I assumed he would love DuckTales, but human arses it is. What number are we on now? Have we reached 10 yet?
Too many.
All right, Chris, have you got a moment of the film that you maybe, apart from the Phil Tippett stuff, was there something you liked, or was it just something that, you thought was just the worst part of the film?
A lot of the film just feels, it's just so forced and it just happens. There's no structure, and then when it finally gets going, you're like, how the fuck did we get here? It's difficult to pinpoint. The physical stuff is done actually really well and competently. I give them that. Like the flying stunts and the animation and stuff like that. But it's got to be the restaurant scene. It turns into like something out of fucking Midsummer or something. Where it's just like, and as we said at the middle of the show, was the girl who played the waitress was the best part of the entire thing.
Shout out to her. Yeah.
And she was fantastic. It just struck me as like that kind of like flash mob mentality where one alpha male is like, let's do this, and then they grab him, and it's like, I don't understand what was the thought process in the script or behind the scenes for that. It makes zero sense. Like, you have to get to that point where he has to, laser eye them because laser eyes are cool and possessed people are cool. But like, when he shouts out, "Help me! They're seasoning me," and I'm like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, just a minute ago, it was this perfectly normal film. They're coming to the climax, and this film just never ends. It felt like it's coming to the end, and then, oh no, we've got just another scene. This is a good idea. Film it. You can extend the scene.
Yeah, like he could have just started lasering the restaurant.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they decided, no, we need to have a scene where they're going to eat Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
They're going to butcher and eat Howard the Duck, even though, I don't know.
Yeah, the humans and all the men, I must admit, as well. No women in that mob. It was all fucking white men.
I was looking out for the waitress. I was like, please don't, please don't be part of the mob, and she wasn't.
And it was just like, when does primal activities like that just kick in a group of men to take this weird duck creature and just start cutting bits off? And what they're going to do, just like dust him in 11 herbs and spices or fry the fucker?
It seemed that way.
It just was so just weird.
I mean, something like that normally takes days or weeks, for a human being to get to that, stage where they're just going to mob it.
They had their advances spurned, right? Because they were trying to hit on Beverly, and Howard was like, "Yo,
yeah,
that's true. There was incentive there, but not enough."
So that's why they lost their minds. But that wasn't everybody, though. Everybody in the diner ended up trying to kill him. So it's still a mystery.
But would they do that to a human? Would they go, "Hang on a minute, we don't like what you're going to say. Let's drag this little human and cut him up and season him and cook him"? Although randomly, don't chickens and ducks and other birds eat their own eggs anyway? I'm sure I've come across that somewhere.
I'm pretty sure ducks also have like corkscrew dicks, so the condom that was in his wallet wouldn't have worked either, really.
I needed one of those twisty green and then red balloons that you get from the fairgrounds.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was pigs that have like corkscrew dicks.
I think ducks do as well. I'm not sure actually.
Steve looks like he's about to Google
I'm gonna
penises. Duck penises.
This is a subject I never thought we'd approach on this podcast, but I guess here we are. We're looking up duck and
thanks, Howard the Duck.
Yeah, and pig penises. Amazing.
Ooh, while most birds have no phalluses, ducks turn out to have relatively large, flexible penises, up to 20 centimeters, tucked inside their bodies.
It's
no wonder he's smiling.
20 centimeters.
Yeah, and during sex, male ducks extend or avert their phalluses inside the female.
How can it... 20 centimeters?
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
There you go.
It's 2/3 of a ruler.
Well, listeners, there you go. We've taught you something helpful, maybe.
I learned something today.
You can go and talk to your workmate or your family member later on after listening to this podcast and tell them this interesting life fact. And they will be amazed as much as we are. Okay, well, I've got a favourite scene of this film, and we've already mentioned it a few times because I think it is probably one of the better scenes of the film, and that's Howard's escape from the police on his biplane thing. But I did like where this scene kind of kicks off. I did quite like it because they're umming and ahhing on how they're going to escape, and I can't remember who says it, but one of them says, "Shall we steal that police car?" And the other person says, "No, it's a bit too noticeable. We'll get noticed if we just steal a police car." And we're like, cool, okay, well, let's find something else that's a little less conspicuous. And then they find this big, massive, red and white biplane thing and said, yes, that is less conspicuous than a police car. Let's escape on this. But
that's a good point.
Yeah. And I quite liked it just for that on its own. But then what followed was, as you've mentioned, maybe a bit too long. Maybe they stretched it a bit too far. But it was probably one of the parts of the film I had the most fun with because of the flying and, they're landing on things and going back up and all these things happening, and then Phil falling off and hanging off the bottom and all this kind of stuff is happening. I just thought it was a fun scene, I guess, that Chris has rightfully said was filmed very well and was pulled off very well. I just think it was probably one of the highlights of the film in total. And and you guys, I know, just agree with that. So I don't know if you've got anything else to say on that.
One of the reasons I didn't like it is because it's a competent chasey stunt scene, but it's like I think part of the issue is just because it's in this film. Like, it's like, what are we doing here? Are we watching Howard the Duck, or are we watching a film that has this in it? Like, it kind of stuck out to me as being, I don't know, it's hard to articulate what I mean. It's like, let's put a chase scene in the film. Does it serve the concept at all of the talking duck from another planet? No. Do you know what I mean? That's time that they could have spent selling me on the conceit, and instead we had, admittedly, a competent chase scene. I don't know. I can see why you enjoyed it, though. I think generally I'm more angry with this film than you are, so perhaps my anger stops me from enjoying the chase scene.
I mean, when I watched it, like, we'll get into our verdicts in a minute, I guess. I think we'll probably get into that now, actually, because you know, like, I was quite looking forward to watching this film. I mean, I'd never seen it before as well. And I've heard bits and pieces, and like, I've always known about this film, and I've never really watched it. And I've always been quite intrigued by Howard the Duck, and like him popping up in the MCU over the last few years and making little cameos and such. Just built the intrigue for me. And you know, I'm not a comic guy. I've never read any of the comics. I've always wanted to see this film. I've always been intrigued. I've heard like slight rumours about bestiality, and I was a bit wary of that on its own. And I'm quite glad it wasn't as bad as it could have gotten. I guess it could have been worse. And there were parts of this film that I quite enjoyed. There was a couple of duck puns that got me, I guess, but I mean, like, there were way too many duck puns in the end. It got ridiculous that they, you know, let's make a film about a duck and let's try and squeeze as many puns in as we can. And it got quite tiring. You know, I liked the Doctor's, you know, possession and his weird little voice and that kind of stuff. And yeah, the Phil Tippett stuff at the end was great. But yeah, there was a lot, you know, like we've mentioned, the duck breasts, the hinting at masturbation and all this kind of weird stuff that's, you know, they're working in a brothel and all this, you know, the weird stuff with like some humans seem fine with him, other humans seem like they're scared as crap out about him and such, and the weird contrasts and everything else that be mentioned. You know, it's just a weird film. Like Steve said, just don't know where it wants to go and what it's trying to say, I guess. I think, like Steve said, I think I probably enjoyed it most out of the three of us. For that, I'm probably going to give it a rating that is probably way higher than probably what you two are going to give it.
Oh, no.
So for Howard the Duck, I think I'm going to give it a 10.
Okay.
No,
okay.
You're just ducking with us, right?
Yes, I am ducking with you, Chris. It's probably a 5. I'll give it a 5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, give it a 5. Steve?
I think if this film was lower budget, I'd probably be less cross with it. Or if it was like, you know, not a Hollywood film, if it was a film from a different country, or if it's a film that had heart.
Or if it's made by the crew that made Critters, then it would be like passable.
Yeah, you'd be less, but this is a film that is so bereft of value that was incredibly expensive to make, and it's a product of the Hollywood system. And for something to be this bad to come out of that, that's what sucks the most about this. But anyway, I've moaned enough about this film. I'm going to give it a 2, I think.
Okay. Chris?
I'm just going to go straight to it. It's going to be a 2.5. I can't go lower than Steve, because that would be gazumping.
Any reasons? Any particular reasons?
We said before, I love the music, the miniature effects, the Phil Tippett miniatures and animation, and even the apartment in Duck World was gloriously done. But the film itself just existed, like it was just there. And about 3 or 4 times through the film, the entire plot and feeling of the film just completely changed and to something different. Like what is this? Like, it's not as low as City Hunter, but I think that film broke me.
It's okay, Chris. We don't have to go back there. You're safe now.
You've definitely seemed more coherent during this podcast than you did the City Hunter one.
I don't know if I was having a bad week or a bad month with City Hunter. I don't know. Like you, Jason, I was just like, I've never seen it. It's always been on my radar. I've always seen it in video rental stores and random posters or references in wherever. Occasionally on some movie channel somewhere. But I've never actually watched it until now. Maybe if I watched it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 25 years ago when I was a lot younger, maybe I'd have more affection to it, like connection. But seeing it at the age of 39 is just like, I don't know. It's just...
Leah Thompson as well. I didn't say mine, but Leah Thompson was a big magnet for me as well because being such a huge Back to the Future fan.
Exactly.
I've never really seen her in much since Back to the Future films. It was, and that added even more intrigue to the film for me because I wanted to see her in something else. I wanted to see her try and portray someone else that wasn't Lorraine. And that was another reason, I guess.
Again, like, I'm surprised it's taken me this long to actually watch it, but maybe I'm just too bogged down with all the negative feedback from a lot of people that are like, oh, it's Howard the Duck this, Howard the Duck that, and I've just decided, I'm not going to, put my effort into finding it or seeking it out, and I just haven't, like you guys, until this week. But it's full of redeeming features. It's just such a misfire on so many complex levels. That, like we said, like it's almost got a perfect storm of association to be this major thing, and it wasn't.
It's like all of the marketing at the time as well is really cool. I really like it. Like they deliberately didn't show Howard the Duck's face, so he's always behind a newspaper with a cigar and smoke and stuff, or wearing sunglasses and obscured by something.
The poster is great. I love the poster.
It's really cool. But then you see what he looks like, and it's just so bland. If you look at his cameos in the latest Marvel films, it should be that guy behind the newspaper and behind the sunglasses. And it feels like, judged on the poster and judged on the marketing, it feels like the film should have more of an edge to it, and Howard should be more like sardonic. But instead, he's just a bloke who just isn't funny. And I wish they'd made the film that they'd promised with the marketing and the poster, but that film just does not exist.
Unfortunately not. But like Chris said, it has rated higher than City Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Just board from above, and it does enter with a nice 9.5 on the board. So it's our second lowest film on the board, but City Hunter is still there at 7.7. So.
Is that the only film I rated 0?
No, I think we got a rating out of you for that.
Was it like a 0.5 or a 1?
I think we might have managed to get a 1 out of you, yeah.
So it's the second lowest with City Hunter on the bottom, yeah?
Yep.
And what's above Howard the Duck?
That would probably be Weird Science.
Okay.
With our 29.9.
Okay. Weird Science doesn't deserve to be next to Howard the Duck.
No.
Don't worry, Steve. My mission now is to try and find a film that's even worse so we can try and get City Hunter off the bottom off the board. All right, well, it's in at 9.5. But, guys, we forgot about Rich. We need to add Rich's score to the total to beef up the score. So it's sitting at 9.5. If Rich was here right now, what do you think he would score Howard the Duck?
I don't think he would like it.
No?
I could say that very confidently. Sometimes Rich is into stuff, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not unheard of, but I don't think he'd have liked this. I think he probably would have disliked it as much as Chris and I think. So we're probably safe with like between a 2 and a 3. Maybe even a 1.5, yeah.
Shall we go with a 3? I feel a 3 is
do you think so?
Is a strong rating for Rich. And then he can watch the film and then berate me when he comes back.
Yeah, we can edit the leaderboard when he finally watches it in about 2045.
All right, go on then. Let's go for a 3.
We're going to give Rich a rating of 3 for Howard the Duck, which obviously pumps it up to 12.5. Still second lowest film on the board. So it hasn't really made a difference.
It's a big gap between Howard the Duck and Weird Science.
But, we can't leave Rich out. Bless him.
No, of course not. No.
I think we're all going to be crackers, and we need to get out of here. Chris, you got any puns, mate? You need to get out of your system before we let these good people go.
I think I've done them all. They're just, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't got any. I haven't got any more.
I'm sure you're saving the best till last, aren't you?
No, I would say I'm only joking, but I'm not. I don't have any more in me, unfortunately.
Let's see if we can squeeze one more out by the time I finish the end of podcast spill. But yeah, we all need to go and see a psychiatrist now, just to, shake all our feathers, get it all out of ourselves. But well, listeners, thank you if you're still listening. Thank you for sticking to the end and hearing all our emotional baggage getting thrown at you, and I think we all feel better for it now. So we thank you for being our support, through this tough time of watching this film. We really, really, really appreciate it. And if you do feel sorry for us and you think that we need to see some kind of medical or we need to get some kind of medical attention, then I think the best way for you to do that is to chuck us £1 on our coffee page, and then we can use that money to get some private help, because that'll probably be better for us, wouldn't it?
So we can go to the doctors.
We really need to get out of here.
This has been labour in the truest sense, and it's only getting worse, as you can see. Chris is just, his mind's unravelling. So
right, yeah. So yeah, please go to our coffee page if you'd like to donate to the show, starting from just £1. And if that's not right for you right now, then you can just please leave us a review or rating on your podcast service. It will go down a treat, and we would really, really appreciate it. Come and join us in our Discord server to discuss the topics we cover: films, TV, video games, and much more. And if you would like to be a part of the show, send in your comments about the films and stuff that we cover, then that is the place to go to do so. And you can find the link for that in our show description or on the website. And speaking of the website, please give it a visit. We have articles, game reviews, our entire back catalogue of episodes and more at thewolfiepod.com. Chaps, I'm not sure if I want to ask this question, but I'm going to anyway. It's time to say goodbye.
I'm sticking to it, and I'm just going to say thanks, Jason. Goodbye. See you on the next episode.
A duck with human boobs. Did you guys see that? Goodbye, everyone.
Well, my name's been Jason. We hope to see you on the next one. Be the retro. I don't really know what else to say. Goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.